At Rubber Band, we empower each other through positivity, kindness, and practical advice. Join a community of thousands of peers who understand the unique challenges you face. Rubber Band. Company agnostic, low ego, high empathy, always supportive. Finding the right people is tough enough. Then onboarding them effectively, managing them well, and supporting their progression is a challenge, which is why we're delighted that this podcast is sponsored by Avature. From sourcing to onboarding, talent mobility to performance management, Avature delivers the full spectrum of recruiting and talent management tools that leading organisations need. With Avature, you can manage the entire talent lifecycle from a single platform. Visit avature.net and discover why Avature is trusted by 110 of the Fortune 500. Are you a founder, a HR solo operator, or the leader of a HR team? Do you feel like you're constantly drowning in back office tasks? HR, payroll, onboarding, IT, it never seems to end, right? Well, it's time to simplify. With Rippling, imagine managing everything for your local and global workforce in one single platform. That's right. HR, payroll, onboarding, even IT, all seamlessly integrated. No more juggling multiple vendors or dealing with frustrating tech issues. Rippling does it all effortlessly. Free yourself from the admin grind and give your employees an experience that they will love. And here's the best part. For our Rubber Band listeners, Rippling is offering an exclusive deal. Get your first 3 months for free. Yes, you heard that right. Just visit rippling.com/en-au/rubberband to claim your offer. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to streamline your entire operation with Rippling. Rippling, one platform, every workforce needs it. And we are live. Welcome, listeners, to today's episode of the Rubber Band podcast, where I am joined by extra special guest, Chris Miran, with the songs that shaped my career. Now, before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I live and work on, the Wadawurrung and Dja Dja Wurrung people. I recognise their continuing connection to the land and waterways. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I would like to extend this to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome, Chris Miran. How you doing?
Thanks. Yeah, good. It's surviving the heat. It's really hot today, but I'm good. I actually love the heat.
I do, but it's getting a little bit on the muggy side for me. It's a pretty hot day today.
It's a bit humid. It's a little bit too humid, but I'm good, mate. I'm so privileged and honoured to be on your podcast, given the people that you've had here before me. So it's awesome to have this conversation with you.
Oh, that's so kind, mate. I feel privileged to interview you. I can't wait to hear all about you and to go to various moments in your life with music. It's good fun. I'm loving recording them. So thanks again for joining. Yeah. I think for anyone who maybe hasn't met you, Chris, maybe a good place for us to start is for you to tell us a little bit about, I suppose, the kind of work you do, what you specialise in, your HR experience, maybe just a little bit of a summary, and then we'll dive in a bit deeper.
Yeah, awesome. I grew up in Melbourne's east, in the southeastern suburbs. My parents, two immigrant parents that came from Egypt in the 60s.
Oh,
they were battlers.
Wow.
And our love language is food. So I grew up around culture. I grew up around loud voices, all trying to find their own way through the Aussie life and sort of figuring out how to fit in within an Aussie construct as immigrants. And that led me, I guess, in some ways to empathise and understand culture and tradition and practice. And I've always been really curious about and intuitive about people I think a lot of that's to do with my kind of heritage. But yeah, so I grew up in, I started my career a long time ago now, actually in contact center. And through that work, a few months into my role, I was doing really well in sales, and they asked me to teach other people how to sell. And that's when I started a career in L&D probably over 20 years ago now.
Wow.
And so I've had, various different jobs to GE, really high performance sort of growth oriented business, Seek, Culture Open Universities, and most recently at Medibank. And I guess my work's always been around helping people to do their best and for teams, and now more morphing into cultural systems and challenging bureaucracies and making things better for people through that work.
I can't wait to hear all about what you're up to at the moment. But am I right in assuming you're the 4-day week work guy from Medibank? Was that you? Were you involved in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 4-day work week experiment sat in as part of a cultural transformation project called Work Reinvented. And I led the Work Reinvented program at Medibank. So I was there kind of disrupting the bureaucracy, challenging the norms, and trying to help them become the healthiest workplace in Australia. And one of the key pillars is that I helped set up was the 4-day work week. And I'd love to talk more about that because it's a really, I think, an interesting innovation that is definitely worth more of a conversation.
Absolutely. And was it successful for Medibank? Like, has it been rolled out more broadly?
Yeah. So we initially started with 250 people, and my last piece of work there was getting the approval from the board for 500 people to go to. And it was successful. So, through that, through rest and recovery, giving people that time and space, not only did we see that well-being improved for those cohorts, but it had an awesome impact in how people showed up to work and how they performed in the role. So productivity improved, attrition came down, engagement went up, all the kind of HR metrics that you'd look at was really, it sort of showed that you can have your cake and eat it too in that model.
Yeah, absolutely.
Often, yeah.
It's fascinating. We're doing 4.5 at Movember. So we're doing half-day Fridays we've shifted to, with the exception of during, campaign time, as November is an incredibly busy month for us. But for 9 months of the year, we're doing 4.5 days. So it'll be fascinating to see what that translates to. And I think Medibank has been really inspiring for a lot of organisations in experimenting with this and trying it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're growing a great mow there, mate, in spirit of Movember. So it really suits you.
Thanks, mate. And it's over, right? Like, Movember's over, but I'm keeping it.
You've held it for a couple of days. But the 4-day thing is, even 4.5 days is awesome, like giving people space back in their time. I think, challenging the way that we've always done things in a bureaucratic system. The 5-day work week came from an invention back in the 50s, where we were originally working 6 days a week post-industrial revolution. And Henry Ford was one of the first people to revolutionize 6 to 5 days. But the reason why they wanted to do it wasn't because, I don't think anyway, it's hard to know, but a big driver of it was to sell more cars, and with people having more space for weekends and more time, they could then commute, and they needed transport. So that was a big part of it. But before that, we worked 6 days a week. So it shows that you can revolutionize things. And, a lot of work practices need to be challenged and thought about. And the 4-day work week isn't just about giving back time back to people. It's about like innovating your business and driving change in it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm curious, just before we go into music, tell me, you're currently the Chief Disruptor for Thrive Nation. So what's a Chief Disruptor and what's Thrive Nation? Tell me all about it. It's difficult for me
I don't really know what the job description is. I just thought it sounded more better than like founder. I've always struggled with the founder sort of concept. I don't know why. But I guess it's the work that I want to be doing is helping organizations to change things. And the work that I'm doing so far with Thrive Nation is really about helping them to challenge their traditional ways of working and finding new ways of working and new ways of engaging with your teams to do that and to find value that you've never seen before. So the conversations and the problems I'm hearing is people are burning out in the workplace, people are feeling really tired, exhausted, and then it feels really slow to get stuff done. And so I'm helping, companies through Thrive Nation to unblock that. So at the moment, it's just me, but hopeful that it will be something that will grow over time. And building this kind of conversation around the fifth day. What's possible on the fifth day that you can give people, and reinventing the 4 days to maximize value. So definitely a big focus on 4-day work week at the moment, and having conversations with a few different organizations around how it could look, which is pretty cool.
It's really exciting, and we feel the shift, right? I mean, we're almost there. We're 4.5. But like, even that's a big deal when you think pre-COVID, when we were all, I mean, we didn't even have, a hybrid approach to working back then as organizations. You would need permission to work from home, or you'd need to speak to your leader. Like the way we work has shifted dramatically, and this to me just feels like the natural evolution of that.
Yeah, it does. And it shows, like, it's so cool to hear Movember doing it. And I think it shows, like, during COVID, it's such a good example, mate, because all of a sudden you had to adapt, like set people up. How are you going to do that? How are you going to work remotely? People really adapted. It shows that people can change.
Yeah.
But, like, the thing is, it shows people can be trusted. You can treat people as adults. They'll work stuff out. And when it works for business, when we're in this sort of crisis, it showed that people were productive, and productivity went up,
Yeah, totally.
So it's amazing what happens when you trust people.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about your career, and let's get into the song space. Let's vibe out together. But before we do that, I'd love to know, Chris, how important is music in your life?
Music's such a good. I was so glad you're doing the podcast around this. Music's a massive part of my life. I wish I was a musician, but I'm not. I've always strummed a guitar or tried to play the keys. I'm trying to influence my kids around music. So it's a massive part of my life. I've always got music on when I'm working. I've always got music on in the gym, and every morning I try and set a bit of a tone and ambience to the vibe at home with the kids, playing some music as we're having breakfast. And it kind of changes things. It changes the vibe of things. And actually just little, I do wedding photography as well, and always incorporate music into my photography as well, because I find that just adds something to the vibe for couples.
Yeah, it's a special thing. I'm like you. I'm a wannabe muso, and I tried everything, and I just couldn't pick it up. And I grew up wanting to be Billy Idol, basically, and I think in the end, I just had to settle for the hair. That's the best I can do.
Well, you've got the good hair, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go there. Let's start. Let's kick this off. So, tell me, where are you going to take me for song number one? What have you chosen, and where does it take you in your career or your life?
Yeah, so the first song is In Excess. It's Never Tear Us Apart, and it's just a classic kind of rock song, I feel. But it takes me back to... It takes me back, actually, it's not really work related. A few of these aren't really work, but it takes me back to driving in my uncle's car back in the 80s and, winding down the windows. I'm not even sure if it was this song playing, but he was kind of a rock star. He owned a nightclub. He was a cool dude in the 80s, dated Danny Minogue. And I can remember, he'd put on some good tunes, and I've got the feeling In Excess was on one of them. And he was he had a bit of a Hutchinson about him. But now with this song, because I'm trying to open up my kids' vocabulary of music, I sing this song nearly every night to my daughter when I put her to bed. And yeah, we're always singing it together. So it sort of transports me back to that moment as a kid. But now I've got that sort of moment with my own kids with this song.
It's a beautiful song. Like I think we underestimate the lyrics of In Excess's music. I think we have kind of mortalized Michael Hutchence as this sex god, and he was an incredibly attractive man, right? And,
Totally.
You know, that presence and his stage presence, you know, he was, you know, you could take any, you're a photographer, right? Like he just lit up the screen, lit up the stage.
Yeah.
I think when we really look deep into their music, I mean, that particular song is poetry, right? Like it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And you can sing it to your daughter. You can sing it while you're dating. You can, you know,
it's universal, I reckon.
It is. It's beautiful. Yeah. And are you a fan of In Excess?
I love In Excess. Yeah, I've got their vinyl record over there. And that's, I love vinyl. But yeah, I love their music. I think it's so cool.
All right, well, let's kick it off. Let's play song number 1. Here we are with Never Tear Us Apart by In Excess. The other thing with Michael, what a voice, right? Like just the soul in his music. Like he's incredible.
You just I just can't think of artists like that anymore that, you know, in a rock sense, like are so popular. It's more like, you know, Coldplays and those sorts of. Oh, and I really like Coldplay. Like I think they're amazing. But yeah, just the soul that is in the music and the voice. Like, wow.
I know.
Yeah.
And just the rock, you know, and you know, it's just beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of music.
Don't you reckon there's something? Sorry, man, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you go.
There's something with him. It was like that comes through in the music, which is in the lyrics. It's like the struggle, you know. And I don't know. I feel like we've lost a little bit of that with the music now. It feels like the struggle isn't as evident. Like it has to be a bit more boppy and a little bit more, you know, happy. And then the struggle. And I think, I think that's what I hear when I hear him. It's like you can hear the heartbreak. You can hear the things coming through.
Yeah, the bravery as well. Like he's just putting his heart on the sleeve and on his sleeve, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well. Where are we going for song number 2? Where are you taking me next, Chris?
Well, song number 2, I'm taking you to Phillip Island back in, this is pre-work days. This is sort of through the schoolies period of my life. Me and my mates, when my mates all turned 18 before I did, we would head down and they would pick me up. We'd head down to Phillip Island and go for a surf. And we only had, you know, tape. It was one mixed tape that we had. And, some songs on there. But this one in particular, My Friends, Red Hot Chili Peppers, just takes me back to that time of being young, being free, being a bit reckless, sleeping on the beach, getting drunk, and just really good times with friends that I'll cherish and remember for the rest of my life.
So is this high school time or is this...
This is kind of, year 12 post high school.
Yeah. And were you working during high school, like during year 12? Like what was your first job?
Yeah, I was working. I was doing a couple of different things. So I worked at Hungry Jack's for a little while, but probably the main thing I did was I was a labourer. So I'd helped a tiler basically, and I'd go out on weekends and afternoons in the summer and rip up tiles and get my hands dirty and just be bossed around by a guy getting paid $10 an hour to do hard work. Yeah, and it was awesome. But that paved the way for trips down to Phillip Island and surfing.
Right, and to have that those special times by the beach. I mean, we're really fortunate in Australia that we've got that outdoors lifestyle that we can head
Oh,
down
yeah.
there with our mates and have a few tinnies, right? Like back in,
Yeah.
and I'm of a similar age to you as well. And when you
Yeah.
were that surfy teenager with your mates and heading to Phillip Island and listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers in the car, what were you thinking in terms of your career? Where did you think you would end up? Because I had no idea at that age, but here I
Oh,
am.
yeah. I'm like you, mate. I had no idea really with what I wanted to do. I really, in high school, I actually had a really low score. Like I nearly didn't pass VCE. I just wasn't really that committed, and always grew. I was really not sure what I wanted to do with my life. And then I started working in a contact center, as I mentioned, pretty young,
Mm.
and that set me up. But I never thought I'd work in sales. Never thought I'd end up in HR at all. I always had dreams of being a basketball player when I was young. I wanted to play in the NBA.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
But
Awesome.
I had no idea. My first uni course I failed at, which was naturopathy,
Oh, right.
and I didn't have the grades to be a doctor, so I thought I'd try natural medicine, and pretty much realised that I suck at biology and chemistry, which was a huge part of it. And I failed that, and then realised I needed to do something different.
Yeah, I did the same. I didn't know what I wanted to do. The only thing anyone ever told me I was good at was floristry, and I stuck to that. I, was going to uni to do social work, and I deferred that. And but anyway, you've taken me to that moment. I think it's that we're too young to know what we want with our career, and we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. But thankfully, we have our friends, and we can head to the beach, and we can head to Phillip Island. So we're going to go there, mate. We're going to go
Yeah, yeah.
to that moment in your life. So here we are with My Friends by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Another great band. I'm curious where you're going to take me next because you've rocked out for the first couple. You've got two legendary rock bands, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Where are we going next, Chris? Where are you taking me for song number 3?
Yeah, song number 3 is a little bit more chill, bit of classic, and that's Al Green. Let's Stay Together. And
Nice.
this had to stay. This had to get on the list because it's my wife and I. It's our song. It was our song that we danced to on our wedding. And it's a sort of a classic. I don't know what you describe Al Green as, but maybe a bit of a jazz funk back then.
Jazz soul.
Yeah, soul. Yeah.
Mm.
I love his voice again. Amazing artist. So that this song, whenever I hear it, takes me back to the times that I've had with my wife. And I met her when I was pretty young, and we've sort of changed careers. We've done everything together. She's been there through thick and thin, and it always reminds me of her.
Excellent. And that moment on, the wedding day and on the dance floor, who was Chris Moran then, and who are you now?
Yeah. Back then, so I was working at GE at the time, and I was, so when I was 15 years ago, actually, mate, just my wedding anniversary a couple of days ago.
Oh, happy anniversary. That's great.
So we were, you were young and free, didn't have kids. I was really into my sport at this sort of time in my life. So I was doing triathlons.
Oh,
and but at the time I was working at GE, and I was in a HR role there. I was a HR and finished there as a HR director running their operations HR function, which was sort of 1,200 people that we'd supported, and things were intense. I took things really seriously with work in that stage of my life. But I've still kept into contact with some of the GE people from back then, and it was a really great time of wrestling with the GFC. Like we're going from this period of growth to like all things stopping, and then sort of winding down the business towards the end. So it was a pretty intense time of work-wise, but a really great time life-wise.
So you kind of talked about earlier in the song number 2 around, working in the contact center, and then here we are at song number 3 at GE, where you've transitioned into HR. How did that all come about? How did you make that move?
Yeah, so I started GE in L&D. So I was working supporting their sales area, or their retail network, actually. It was branches across Australia. And so I'd hit out on the road and get to meet all these really amazing people, actually. And yeah, I sort of threw myself into that experience. Do you know what, mate? To tell you the truth, I'd never felt, here you go, this is really, you've set me on a path here. I didn't feel like I ever deserved that job.
Right.
I went from so I worked in contact center as this sales and L&D guy, and then I went into an insurance business after that, and then I got the GE job, and I'm like, I can't believe GE hired me. So I just threw everything I could into this role, and I was 21 at the time when I first got the job.
Wow, you were young. Wow,
I was young. I was really young. And I was like, I can't believe they've hired me. So I'm going to really try and prove myself. And I took every opportunity. It was like every opportunity to do anything. Yep, I'll do it. And I ended up, remember speaking at their national conference with like 350 people in the room, and I was 21, giving them advice on how to be more better leadership. I can't remember what the topic was. And that just opened up doors by saying all those opportunities, and I got into this HR role supporting that same network. And I remember the first day, actually, I was in that gig. So, because I was on the road, and I had to head out to this branch to terminate someone's employment on my first day of being in the role. And it was literally, here's the keys to the car.
Yeah.
Here's the keys to the car. Go sort this out. So it was a pretty steep learning curve, but it was an awesome experience, and during that time.
All right, let's go to GE and to the dance floor on the wedding day. Here we are with Let's Stay Together by Al Green.
Oh, baby. Let's stay together. Loving you well.
We're up to song number 4. Where are you taking me, Chris? Where are we going?
Yeah, I'm going to switch around the order a little bit. So this is Pat Benatar. This is actually a work song. So Pat Benatar, and it was, I've lost it for a second.
Hit me with your best shot.
Hit me with your best shot. Thanks, mate.
I guess.
Yes.
The best.
Hit me with your best shot. So this song, I was running a cultural transformation program at GE, and we just had, this massive sort of change initiative that we needed to drive. And I remember thinking about, what's the song got to be when people walk into the room? And I was like, it's got to be this. Because the story was, the change we were trying to drive is sort of bouncing back, the need to bounce back, be resilient. And I was like, this is going to be the song. And it was just so cool. People walked in. It was just a perfect song to just get them up, get them fired up, get them ready for this sort of challenge. And it worked really well. It was great.
Do you still use it in your work now? Is it one of those songs that stayed with you for the warm-ups?
Yeah. I still definitely have it on the playlist of like work songs that I'm going to play. It's on that Spotify list. So yeah, I definitely still use it.
Yeah, it's one of those really empowering songs, right? It's one of those, it's almost like, Eye of the Tiger from Rocky, like hit me with your best shot. It's like you feel you can conquer the world, and she just has it's feisty, and she's got so much attitude. And I love Pat Benatar. Yeah. I think she's marvelous. Like, I think she's she's an incredible talent and still is and still tours. Like, she's fabulous. But that song, it just kind of, it's almost like it gives you that energy boost and that confidence to take on the world.
Yeah, it
Good
does.
choice.
It does. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a confidence to take on the world. I love that. Yeah, that's exactly how it feels when you listen to it.
All right. Well, listeners, here's the song to help you take on the world and, you know, build that confidence and go get them. So here we are. Hit Me With Your Best Shot by Pat Benatar. Oh, Chris, I can't believe we're at song number 5 already. Where are we going? What's your final choice? Yeah.
So my final one actually is I'm just going to call the artist because there's too many songs to pick. And Miles Davis. So I love jazz, heart and soul of jazz, the man. So I was listening to a lot of Miles Davis actually. So last year I had heart surgery, and and so I can explain a little bit more about that. But one of after I had heart surgery, we were due to go away, and we said, should we still go away or not? And I was recovering, and I said, no, we're still going. We've still got to go away on this trip. And we had such a great time. And I remember I created a little video of our little holiday because it was one of the things I could actually do. And I used Miles Davis as one of his songs as the backdrop for that little video. And so I love listening to that now. I've got a much deeper appreciation for jazz music these days, and I always have that playing on in this sort of stage of my life now.
Oh, amazing. And full recovery from your surgery? Everything?
Yeah, I'm fine now. I had a blocked artery, which I didn't realise. So, which it sort of was a bit of a shock. But, yeah, I'm all good now, mate. Yeah,
I'm glad to hear.
And working hard to kind of stave off any future blockages for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And, I feel bad taking you back to that moment because that must have been really scary for you and your family, right? Like, our health is it's, what unites us, I suppose, health. It's, it's the most important thing in the world for each and every one of us. And, that I can imagine that was just terribly stressful for you and everyone around you.
It was stressful at the time, but, I'm so grateful. I guess now that I look back at it, I'm really grateful for it because, number one, I appreciate my well-being so much more now and like the importance as I'm getting older of looking after myself, not abusing my body with, with just life and even with food or drinking. So it was really good wake-up call for me and like what's really important. And I'm happy to share it because I think it was a time in my life where I'd been working really hard. So I was a year in at Medibank at the time or something like that. And I'd just been really hammering myself in service of everything else that I wanted to get done. And why I want to share the story around that is because I think that's what happens for a lot of people. It's like you give up so much of your own health and well-being, and we need to stop and like pause and just look after ourselves. So I'm definitely happy to share it.
Yeah, I completely agree. So let's use this song. I'm just going to pick. Do you know what? Miles Davis did a beautiful version of my all-time favorite song, which is "Time After Time." So I'm going to play that if that's okay. So just so I can play some Miles Davis as well. So let's play it. Here we are with "Time After Time" by Miles Davis. Well, there we are. Chris, how did you find that? Did you enjoy that experience?
Yeah, that's great. I love the vibe that you feel listening to Miles Davis. I think it just transports you to a different time, and I always just feel he's more chilled after that for some reason.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, right? Like we talked earlier, music, I mean, it takes you to those moments in your life. It's wonderful for reflection, but it's so great for health and well-being. So, mate,
Yeah.
it's been an absolute pleasure hearing your journey, and congratulations on Thrive Nation. I can't wait to see all the wonderful things that you roll out for organizations across Australia and, the globe. Watch this
Thank
space, I'm
you.
sure.
Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, definitely, I love this format of a podcast. It's so cool. So thanks so much.
So fun. Thanks so much, Chris. You have a wonderful afternoon and stay cool.